Yeah, checking everyone out was long.
But it's different people, Michelle, mowing or taking down a tree. So, and I walked out myself and took down a tree.
We've done electric.
I put ice
And
on
that's a
it.
little bit of
I
a
put
new,
ice
that's a
on it.
little bit of a new.
Very nice. Well, we got some coffee right now.
What do you want to do?
I was pretty sure. Dump it in the door.
It's an odd thing.
We did
Because
that.
it's a story thing, it's protected. It's a whole thing.
Basically, we as
And
we found it.
like I said, that's a new thing that that's real.
Oh,
Yeah, the past 2 years.
We're really sorry. Not our way, we always have people say, we're the ones doing it.
We're not gonna play now. Put it in the
No, we're not.
Give our other big friends.
I guarantee you, when you send this to me, this one, is about it.
It's not like us like 10 kids too. I don't know where we got it.
Right. Yeah.
Don't banish us. Bonus.
No, I appreciate you coming out.
Oh, you're welcome. I really like it.
Your food's good.
This year was better. Last year, we spent a lot of money. People, or maybe more than half came and they did. No, was it?
There was a lot.
A lot more people this year than the last year.
Like,
Oo, mga panahon ng World War II, ito yung mga ginagamit nila. BMW.
American aircraft.
Ito yata, German Nazi bike. Yeah. Mercedes, BMW, and World War II, yun yung mga ano. At andito daw yung sasakyan ni Hitler. Hitler. Andito yung sasakyan niya. Oh. Hanapin ko nga eh. His cars should be here. I saw on the website one of the cars he rode. Huh? Yung ayun. I think that's the one. I think that's what Hitler rode.
The museum is really all about. It's about the
Awesome.
greatest generation, World War II generation. Yeah, and of course we highlight the American side, the US side. So basically, pretty much all of the airplanes that you see here are World War II era.
Okay. Even though, so Steve McQueen, did he serve during World War II, or was he just an instructor?
No, I think Steve McQueen is after World War II. But the General Lyon, who's the man that owns basically all of this, he's also an avid classic car collector, motorsports, into that. So as part of his collection, if you will, he also has some of the motorcycles that came from Steve McQueen's collection.
Oh, nice.
So that's why we have.
That's one is this guy.
Yeah, that one there, the Panther, and the one on the other side, which is a 1921 Harley Davidson.
Uh-huh.
I think, yeah, this also was owned by Steve McQueen at one time.
Oh, wow.
So that's why you see them here.
So this fortress, Flying Fortress right here, the
Yes.
Fudge Duddy, it served in which war theater?
World War II.
I'm like, versus Japan or Germany?
This one was built in Long Beach by the Douglas Company, even though it's a Boeing airplane. But it came off the assembly line in March of 1945.
Nice.
So it actually did not see, service. It's from that era, but it did not see actual bombing service from like England over to Germany. And this one is a recreation of the original Funny Duddy.
Okay. What happened with the original one?
The original Funny Duddy, if you see those red outlines towards the front, the little silhouettes of the bombs,
Yes.
the original Funny Duddy had 93 successful missions
Wow.
over Germany, Europe in World War II. And unfortunately, it was lost in a mid-air collision in December of 1944.
44.
But this one is a recreation of the original Funny Duddy.
Oh.
Most of the airplanes that you see here at the museum, they are still flight-worthy, are survivors from that, but probably did not see actual combat duty because they would have been shot at, damaged, broken, lost, some crashed. But it is an original B-17G Flying Fortress.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed because there's a museum in Atwater, California. They have several versions of Flying Fortresses, much more advanced than this one. Seems like they're very costly, even in the Cold War era, to the point where they're still flying modern versions of it. I mean, like the Stratus, but it seems like it's an easy target for enemy fighters.
Well, yeah, I mean, anything that's this big, carries a heavy payload, is obviously big and slower than, single engine, fast flying fighter airplane. They're also vulnerable to missile attack.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why maybe in more modern times you're seeing a shift away from the large bombers
Yeah. to stealth.
drones.
Yeah.
That smaller, you know, you don't have as many. These flew with like 10 people on board.
Oh.
Okay, they had a crew of 10. So anytime they were damaged or shot down, chances are you lost 7 or 8 guys. And so now we try to limit the losses to practically none.
Yeah.
in that respect.
Funny that he survived a lot of missions. 98, you said.
93.
Oh, 93.
Yeah, that's quite a record. I mean, typically, if they could survive maybe 10, you're already doing very, very good. The survivability rate is.
True. We just, I think the latest movie I took her at was Midway. And it seems like there's a portion where they're flying fortresses off aircraft carrier. Is that accurate? No?
Off the aircraft carrier, you would have seen something like this, the B-25. Imperial Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in December 1941. So in February of 1942, just a couple of months after, the U.S. mounted a raid against Imperial Japan.
Yeah.
And they put 16 of the B-25 on an aircraft carrier. The B-25 was never meant as a Navy airplane, but it was adapted for that particular mission. So in February of 1942, the U.S. actually bombed Imperial Japan. They had bombers over Tokyo, Osaka, and a few other cities. Didn't do a lot of damage, but it sent a message. It said,
Yeah.
hey, you guys are, you awakened the sleeping giant.
Yep.
Right?
When they dropped the bombs, did the Imperial nation realize that we should surrender, or it'll take a while, a couple of days before they completely surrender to the U.S.? Because it would send a clear message like, hey, you guys better stop.
After the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, it took a while, actually, not so much for the people, but the hierarchy. I think the Japanese emperor
To sink in.
still needed convincing, so then the second bomb was dropped a few days after in Nagasaki.
Yeah.
And then they figured out that this is, we really can't afford to keep, losing. So finally, they capitulated in the war.
True. But I never
Very
realized.
very tragic situation. I mean, of course, wars are not
Yeah, it's not a pretty thing.
are always bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took a while. And actually, it's kind of a good thing that they finally realized what was happening, because those were the only 2 atomic bombs that the U.S. had.
What? I thought they were having a bunch of that before. The only 2 working ones, or 2 only made?
The only 2 that were made.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, there would have been others kind of in different stages, but basically the 2, one was Big Boy and one was Fat Man, I think the 2. But that was pretty much it. It was the whole arsenal.
Was there like a plan B if they didn't surrender at that point? Like,
I think that they were trying to avoid an actual boots on the ground invasion, which would have been, I think, really devastating.
oh yeah.
For that. So they said, okay, if we have this enormous weapon, we probably stop the war sooner than an actual on the ground fighting.
Yeah.
type war.
Yeah, because I think in the documentary, America lost a lot of foot soldiers or American veterans at the first island at Japan. Was it Okinawa? Yeah, they really lost a lot of numbers.
Tremendous losses.
Yeah, because of the underground tunnels and whatnot, the booby traps, and the Bataan Death March. Yeah, that was horrific.
Yeah, plus the fact, for whatever reason, the Japanese were so indoctrinated that they were just not giving up.
Oh, yeah.
They would rather be slaughtered than to say, okay, you surrender. And,
Yeah,
terrible situation.
true. But would you say which one of the theater had the most casualty? The European side or the Asian side? As far as like U.S.
I'm not exactly sure. I think they were both pretty bad. I understand that the U.S. casualties for World War II were like 450,000, men, military. But I don't know what the actual, what it was in the Pacific Theater versus the European.
Gotcha. Excuse me. I heard there's a car here by Hitler.
Yep.
Can you point us to it?
Sure. It's the Mercedes. It's on the far wall of the museum.
How did you folks manage to get your hands on it?
Well, since General Lyon is a pretty avid car collector. You know, he had kind of contacts, and the car, the G4, the Mercedes G4, came from a collection in Las Vegas.
Ooh.
Someone had it. And I'm not exactly sure how they acquired it. At one time or another, after the war, it was brought over as a war prize, you know,
Okay.
from Europe to show people and for the bond drives. I think one of the movie studios needed it for a certain movie, so they kind of restored it in the back, and then it probably went to this collector in Vegas.
Gotcha.
And then for whatever reason they needed to sell it. My understanding is the General Lion acquired it. It was a lot of 5 different cars or military vehicles that this guy was selling for Vegas. And the general happened to have it. Being the military man himself, he was interested in having this artifact.
Okay.
But this is one of the original Mercedes G4 that Adolf Hitler would have paraded, actually, being on. And in fact, the front upholstery is still original. You see that it's kind of torn
Wow, this is actually his.
to the period. So yeah, so that guy, Adolf Hitler, would have actually stood up there and done his saluting and all this parading and everything.
It's a unique design. It's.
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah.
Wow. I thought it would be like lowered, but it's raised.
Yeah.
So was it intentional to be like an all-terrain vehicle?
The idea was to have, multi-axis in the back, but it's kind of underpowered. It only has a little over 100 horsepower engine, and it's very, very heavy because it has bulletproof glass and an armor plate underneath. So as far as an off-road vehicle, it was probably not very good, that. But again, for parade purposes in the streets, just like you see when the Nazi Germany invaded Poland, it was an impressive, kind of a frightening type vehicle. So it suited the purpose of showing.
Standing right beside it is very intimidating. It feels not a car, but an assault vehicle. 1939, and they already have the dual tire system going.
And the glasses are
sure.
heavy resistant bullet, resistant glass. Wow.
Yeah, a lot of people are surprised and say, "Oh, they had bulletproof glass in
Yeah.
World War II." At least Germany did.
So even if you're this close, you won't have a lucky shot with Hitler if he's sitting down, if that's bulletproof. With the armament you guys have back then, it'll take a lucky chance for you to hit Hitler directly.
Well, if you notice, it's got the bulletproof windshield in the side of the armor, but it's open on top.
Oh yeah, but I want,
Okay,
true.
whatever.
Is the SS this elite unit?
Yeah, GSS, I forget what the abbreviation was, but it was one of the elite Nazi troops.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because when I was watching historical films, it kind of portrays like SS are the only ones Hitler preferred to be around with, compared to the normal troops.
Yeah, he had like some hand-picked SS troops that were like his bodyguard, and there was a slightly different denomination or name, for them, but I forget what it is. I think we just classify them as SS troops.
True. Man, they really went all out just to protect this guy.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, he was their I don't know. It was almost like a godlike
To them,
figure,
yeah.
To them, sure.
Although his ideology, it's a little bit
Oh, it was.
contradicts his himself, because he's after blue eyes, blonde hair. He's not a blue eyed blonde hair person, so I'm not sure how come his followers didn't question that.
Yeah. I know. Actually, it is pretty amazing that he could actually rise to the level that he did, and he got people to do what they actually ended up doing.
True.
It's just scary. Terrifying.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is probably the one kind of significant artifact from World War II.
Oh yeah.
This is something
I would say that's truly, like you said, significant.
it's a very unique type of artifact.
So Hitler has more than one. This is just one among many, right?
Oh, sure, sure. He had the run of everything. But later on, they actually preferred a different kind of Mercedes for his average use. It was the 770 series. This was one of the earliest ones that was available, and I guess they used it in Poland. And also, I've seen a documentary when the Nazis conquered France, and Hitler wanted to tour Paris. This documentary shows 5 or 6 of these cars with Hitler going around. So this was probably one of them. That was in 1940.
Did he use like lookalikes when he was out in public, or?
I've read that he had some lookalike, kind of.
Okay. So it existed back in 1939 to incorporate lookalikes for leaders.
Sometime during World War II, I'm sure that he had some.
Okay.
Something like that, because he had several attempts on his life.
Oh yeah, Project Valkyrie. Yeah.
Yeah. As you know.
I thought Project Valkyrie was the only one till I found out it's more than that.
Yeah. There were actually a few more. Yeah.
I wonder if what were their aim goal is. If they kill this guy during the coup, are they ending the war or are they just taking his place? That's the main question on that event.
I'm not sure of the timing of all the attempts, but I think they were actually trying. They realized that the war was lost.
Oh yeah.
They were actually trying to make friends, if you will, with the Allied, and try to actually save Germany. I mean, they realized that the Allied were just bombing.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think it was a replacement, kind of looking after themselves. So, okay, I'll be the next in line to do that. I really think they were actually trying to save Germany, to say, we need to stop this.
Okay. But if they did that, are they cutting his ideology or are they just saving themselves, putting it into the war, but they're still going to do their own thing?
That's a complicated question.
Yeah. Just kind of like...
That you're asking. I don't know if even at the hierarchy they were aware of what the final solution were. You hear all sorts of conflicting it was a big, complicated mess, complex.
Yeah.
Complex thing, but that's a great question.
Thanks. Yeah, because you can kind of see what's happening right now. Kind of like when you watch Kim from North Korea, when he's willing to shake hands with foreign leaders, he's kind of like on the edge too, because he knows he's not truly in power. Like, he's just a puppet. Like, even take him away, North Korea will do the same thing. Unless the people really like want to change. But if you just take away the figurehead, but the people are so ingrained in the ideology of the nation, like what Hitler did in the day, they won't change nothing. They're just gonna do their own thing.
They keep on the same track. Yeah, that's one of the things that I guess it's hard. Is it basically the government? Is it the ideology?
Yeah.
Is all the people behind it, or do you find that there's a split? Kind of like in Iran.
Oh yeah.
At this point, it's hard to tell. Are the people really for that regime, or are they saying, wait a minute, this is not going the right way?
So is this the only artifact Hitler has in the museum?
Yeah. I think we have something else that relates to kind of the Nazi propaganda, but as far as Hitler himself, this would be it. I think on that counter we have something like the propaganda thing. We have a helmet, that's got the German markings.
The German. So here's the weird thing I heard. I think there's some policies, kind of like, I'm not sure if U.S. is also part of it, where some collectors aren't allowed to have those kind of artifacts. Is that the case with the United States?
I think it's with the U.S. I think in Germany, you cannot display a swastika.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I can see why.
Absolutely. In fact, I've seen pictures of like some air museums in Germany where they have like some of the Messerschmitt 109s and Focke-Wulf 190. They have the black and white crosses, but there's no swastika, unlike the vertical stabilizer.
Yeah.
Absolutely forbidden. And there's jail involved if you do that.
Ooh,
You're really in bad.
I can see why. I can see.
For us here in the States, we don't have those restrictions. It's just basically up to the museum whether they want to show some of the Nazi replicas or not. We figure it's history, you know,
Yeah.
it's shown as it was.
Mercedes. So everything, so from the body to the windshield, you can't shoot it, you got no luck. Except you throw a grenade, that's your only chance. Wow. Like, look at this thing. It's not a car, it's a tank.
Yeah, it's pretty massive, isn't it?
It is. I don't see any solution to attack Hitler from left to right unless you throw a grenade on top. Man. And I heard Panzer tanks, or I think, is it Panzer tanks in Germany?
Yeah.
I think it takes, I'm not sure how accurate they are during the documentary, it takes 10 Sherman tanks to kill one Panzer tank.
The Panzer tanks had much thicker
Armor.
and also pretty powerful 88, typically 88 millimeter gun. Whereas the Sherman tank was lighter, and I think the cannon was only 67 millimeters. I mean, it would have been in inches, but the equivalent is 67 millimeters. But as to whether it took 10, it probably depended on how lucky the shot was. I think what the Sherman tanks did, they shot at the tracks of the Panther to kind of immobilize it. So that's also an effect